This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience. Episode 47, Onward and Upward.
Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest video podcast. I'm John Miller. Well, everyone, I have the good fortune to be sitting next to Ben Clark. You might remember him. He's been gone for a while, but Ben, you just returned from Nepal last night.
Last night, John, we returned from Nepal. We've been gone for, I believe, 47 days and had ourselves quite an adventure, which I'll be pretty psyched to share with everybody.
Now, who are you with on this trip?
I was with my good friend Tim Clark. He's a Telluride local, as well as my girlfriend, Annie Ripper.
And so you guys were gone for about 45 days.
Yeah.
And Ben checked in a little bit with us through the Tibet 2007 podcast of the Rest of Everest. But he had quite an experience, and it didn't turn out exactly the way they had expected.
No, what I learned is pool your resources and make the most of your experience in Nepal. We left. We were planning on climbing a 26,436-foot mountain without oxygen, no Sherpas, and to ski it. And unfortunately, Tim caught some sort of a bug early in the expedition, got sick, and came down with pulmonary edema. And so we decided to salvage our experience because we still had another month on our plane tickets and went and hiked the Annapurna circuit, and in the process decided to be really adventurous, and if we saw a good peak, we would climb it, ski it, and that's exactly what we did, and we believe we may have come away with the first descent of a peak called Lhawang Peak. So that was a great time, and it was really fun to explore.
So Tim ended up being totally fine.
Well, he still got sick again when we climbed Lhawang. He's got to go to the doctor, but yeah, he did. No one died.
No one died. Yeah.
We all have our fingers and toes.
And we joke about that now, but that's actually something that needs to be said.
And always a consideration.
Always a consideration. Well, Ben, it's great to have you back. And everyone, this week we are going to be going up on Ben's official summit push. So we're going to be starting on that, and let's actually head back to base camp and experience some of the frustration of trying to get in contact with this guy from me from base camp. So here we go. Okay, so we are back at Julian, Rupert, and Stewart's camp, even though they were up.
Base camp ABC, over.
This is their cook, really friendly guy. Remember, they were letting me use their radio, and we were trying to sync up with Ben up at ABC at their camp.
Base camp ABC, over.
This guy was so nice. I don't remember his name. It was probably Pasong or Dawa or
A day of the week.
it was, yep,
Usually everyone was named after a day of the week.
You think so?
the day that they were born on.
Uh-huh.
ABC.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
May I try?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody was really nice.
You know Jumbo?
Every trip up into the Himalayas, and I'm counting 4 now.
Yes, I do.
Everybody's been good.
Base camp, ABC. Base camp, ABC, over. Other way around, ABC, base camp.
Yeah. Base camp. Base camp.
That was the first time I ever used a radio on this
Rather,
trip.
ABC, base camp. ABC, base camp, over.
There.
I actually remember this little conversation here because I had huddled in the vestibule of their little cook tent when we finally got it. I was hanging out with Dave Sharp in his tent when this call came, and they came and got me out of there.
No, we don't get in touch on this.
Oh, do we not?
Yeah.
Oh, when we finally did get in touch, I was sitting there with Dave.
Everyone, he's talking about last episode.
Yeah.
Last episode, that nice conversation that Ben and I had. So you were with Dave?
Yeah, we were hanging out, and then they came. One of those guys came and got me, and I went and I remember freezing while talking to you because it was late, and I'd just been hanging out with Dave, and occasionally Jamie would walk in, chat up route conditions.
ABC, base camp. ABC, base camp, over.
So this is one of the frustrating aspects of Everest. What you'll hear on the radio is a lot of talk between Sherpa, but I was not able to get in touch with Ben on this day, and so this was the day before you were going to be going up.
Yeah.
And so I was really desperate to get in touch with you. But Do you remember, like you said you were hanging out with Dave and everything, but like what were you doing up there between your summit pushes?
Just hanging out. I mean, mostly just kind of every day I'd get up and my feet would be cold, so I'd rub those, and then I'd go. Well, I'd wait for the sun to hit the tent, and then I'd get out, and then I'd go eat breakfast, and then I'd usually walk up there. By this time, the Roskellys had already gone for the. They were already at the North Col because we'd gone up to the North Col, and then I had come back down because it was too cold. John and Jess were waiting up there, and they were advancing on the mountain when the winds finally cleared, as they have an amazing innate ability to just sit at high altitude without needing recovery time. And then I would just go hang out, usually with Dave, because otherwise I was hanging out with Jess, and once Jess was up on the mountain with John, just go kick it with Dave. Because Julian and Rupert, they were kind of running around.
ABC, this is base
but
camp.
Dave
ABC,
had
this
Richard
is
Dugan,
John at base
Banjo
camp.
was
Over.
at base camp most of the time, trying to recover. Jamie was up on the mountain trying to push camps up higher, and Richard was just kind of MIA. He was in and out. He was just seemed to always be flighty somewhere, doing something. He was staying pretty active, but
Yeah.
Dave and I were both just kind of sitting around chatting about, travel, science. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff.
And just so everyone can get a little bit of perspective here, the Dave that we're talking about is Dave Sharp, and he's the one who passed away on Everest in 2006. He was the one that was he was the climber in the midst of the huge media frenzy because so many reports were saying he was basically left for dead, and passed by many climbers while he was dying. It doesn't matter what happened. He's not with us anymore.
Yeah,
And so
I mean, the result is that he is deceased. He did die on Everest. He was a good man. I don't know if he got passed or not. I wasn't up there,
5 more minutes.
and even if I had been up there, I probably wouldn't have really been that aware of what was going on. But yeah, he's a good dude. We had a lot of fun, and he's someone that I would go and hang out with anytime, anywhere in the world. He was a smart climber. It sounds like he Everest
ABC,
just
this is
handed
base
it.
camp.
handed
ABC,
him
this is John at base
raw
camp.
deal.
Over.
Overall.
But all of this is just all of this that you're seeing here is just part of what it's like to be at Everest, and the radios don't always work.
No.
And luckily I had gotten into contact with Ben a couple of days earlier.
Okay, you try.
You're kind of missing there were a few days here that I didn't film, but you got these really good friends up in the mountain, and you know that they're going to be going for the summit of Everest, and it's really unnerving to not be able to get in touch with them and know what the plan is, and
Yep.
just know,
Something.
yeah, it's like
Any information would be nice.
ABC, Julian, this is John at base camp. ABC, this is John at base camp. Over.
it's funny, we have all this technology even back then in 2003, but it was only good with talking with people back in the United States.
Yeah.
It wasn't really useful at all to get in touch with, the climbers up on the mountain.
Yeah.
And the problem that we're having here is because Advanced Base Camp is not in line of sight from base
No.
camp. It's actually behind a mountain called Changse.
Uh-huh.
And Changse is not a small mountain.
No.
It's a big piece of rock.
Yeah, it's an enormous block to communication. I mean, you can't, even from 23,000 feet, it's tough to communicate. From higher, 7-9, that camp,
When,
it's hard to communicate.
batteries are
Best
good,
spots,
have
high
very
camp
good
at
radio.
27,200
Very good
feet.
radio here.
Just
Because
because
you can see it.
yeah, you actually have line of sight. Otherwise, you have to try and
North Col.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying here.
sometimes higher up.
you need someone who knows a lot about calculus and trigonometry to figure out how to bounce a signal off a giant mountain wall in front of you to reach base camp.
हाम्रो कहिलेसँग कुरा गर्ने रे आऊ ओभर
And we weren't the only ones having difficulties. Other teams were having trouble too.
just 15 20 minutes
Nature of the beast.
Good, thank you.
And it was so hopeful because he kept saying that, it's all going to be working out in a few minutes, but, there was some link in the chain that was just not there.
No, just wasn't
ABC,
working.
this is base camp. ABC, this is base camp. Over.
I'm looking at that jacket now, and I'm remembering.
It was blue.
Well, no, I mean, my shoulders were still pretty clean, but down near my pockets, it was just
Like leather.
almost black.
Yeah.
That jacket was filthy. I actually remember I left it when we returned. I left it in a duffel bag at your house.
Yeah, I pulled
And
it
then
out.
pulled it out like 6 or 8 months later.
Ugh.
Like, John, you want this back? And it
How
hadn't
are
been
you?
cleaned, and I remember just
How are
how
you
filthy
feeling?
it was.
I'm a bit better.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I'm talking
Had
with
someone talking now.
Yeah.
South
Yeah,
African
just
climber
going to
here.
check.
Yeah.
Okay, are you calling the guys up?
Yeah. They are friends with my friend, the climber. So hopefully this way I can talk to them, see how they're doing, and then also talk to my friend.
Yeah.
Our radios,
Gone.
yeah, they're just worthless. They're worthless until you get up to the North Col or higher.
Yeah.
Line of sight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. No, that's fine.
yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. But still cough a bit.
Yeah.
I think it won't go away.
Do you need to?
What?
I'm pulling out base camp currency
I've
here.
got an antibiotic.
Cough drops.
Cough drop?
I've got throat lozenges.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay, you wanna?
All right.
Yeah, so you'd make friends with everyone, even if it was just in passing, but everyone was getting sick at this point.
ABC,
Everyone
this is
was
base
getting
camp.
sick.
ABC, this is John at base camp. Over.
So this is probably on the 18th or so.
Yeah.
And you
left,
started heading up on the 19th.
yeah. 19th we went to the North Col. 20th we went to 7-9. 21st we went to high camp at 27-2, and the 22nd was the summit day. Yeah.
Oh, don't give it away, Ben.
Oh yeah, I summited Mount Everest.
Did he summit? We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never
Stay
know.
tuned.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, everyone's getting sick. So we had been there about 45.
Yeah, we've been in the
We've
country
been-
since April 4th.
Yeah.
Works
So
very well.
yeah, in about 45 days. It's a long trip, man.
Yeah, but you just now had gotten back from a 45-day trip yesterday.
I know. I'm thinking we covered so much ground on this trip. It's unbelievable. Makes Everest look like we went to climb a mountain, and we went and we hiked over 100 and something miles across enormous passes in Nepal, and then suddenly went and climbed a peak just over 20,000
I am
feet
in your way.
unacclimatized.
That's crazy.
Full on.
And again, everyone, for that, he's talking about 2007,
Yeah,
the
this
trip he
was-
just got back.
I just arrived back in the country last night, so
ABC, this is base camp. ABC, this is John at base camp. Over.
It's funny looking back on this footage here. The Sherpa here was so apologetic for, needing to grab something behind me or something, and that's what I was just saying there. It's like,
They say they
no
would
man, I'm in
have
your way.
someone
You're not in my way.
he's making some
on the
tang.
other radio. Yeah. Hard to tell.
Never seems to work. I mean, you're always trying to get a hold of people, and it's like you're in a valley. I mean, even satellite phones calling back the U.S. I mean, it's always trouble.
Yeah.
It's something, and I think that's part of the real glamour and luxury of a trip like this. Is it's like if you can enjoy being isolated, or you can enjoy, just communicating with who's in front of you and sort of focusing on that. That's a very good and present experience. But on the same
well.
token, it's like, you still got to pass along information to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
It's hard on our end too.
All right, so we're gonna skip to the next day or so, and so this is the North Col.
Yeah. Still got 6,000 more feet of mountain to climb there. North Col looks kind of like San Francisco.
We're gonna jump to a little bit later in the day here, in just a second. So you can see that, the situation in the North Col was still pretty rough.
Yeah, that windstorm had blown a lot of things out. People's tents were just destroyed.
Does everyone remember the windstorm?
Yeah, if you don't, make sure you tune into that one.
So obviously this is footage shot by our Russian friends. But so what was going on at the North Col? We'll see some footage of people kind of hanging out. But did you spend much time there?
Tried not to. I tried to stay low. I mean, I ended up spending 30 days over 21,000 feet on this trip, but I felt like if you're going to North Col, you need to go up there because you're going to climb, or you're going to carry something and cache it and leave it there. But I personally, all I had was a sleeping bag and a video camera. I ditched the video camera. So, I mean, basically from the North Col, I had everything on, mostly for the climb and the sleeping bag. And I had oxygen, which froze up on my way to the next camp, so that was useless.
How much oxygen did you have with you?
I remember carrying 2 bottles on summit day, and then having a bottle for this day, and it didn't do anything. It just froze up, and then I ended up, that was because my mask froze up, so I used the same bottle the next day. So 3 bottles, I guess, total.
Just for people who have asked, how cold was it up? Like up here?
Up here, not bad. I mean, decent. It wasn't warm. You slept at night. You could sleep and you weren't like freezing or anything. But once you got out off of this sort of protected campsite, if the wind hit on that ridgeline, it became pretty brutal. But for most 8,000 meter peaks, I mean, you're looking at a high camp at this point, you know, or pretty close to a high camp, because most 8,000 meter peaks are around 26,000 feet. But this is 29, so it's 8,848 meters. It's almost another 1,000 meters. So
Yeah, Everest is just so much higher than the majority of other mountains.
Yeah, it's big. And it's an enormous difference over other large peaks.
What was the feeling at the North Col? Was there still a sense of community, or was it starting to disintegrate into people being more secretive about what they're doing?
I feel like people, for the most part, were beginning to decompose.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like you just started to feel the fatigue setting in on everybody. I mean, you just kind of looked at people and you're like, yeah, everybody here is pretty tired.
And I don't think back in 2003 anyone had summited yet on either side of the mountain.
Oh, no.
At this point.
It was still...
And if you compare that to this year, most people had already summited and had been heading home by this point.
Yeah.
So, you know, it just kind of gives you an idea that since no one had summited, that I know of, that I can remember, that everyone was going to be having to summit.
Pretty much at the same time. These are the Russians. This guy right here, Nikola,
Yeah.
he summited without oxygen. He was one of the few people that year to do that.
От жары? От жары?
Look at that tent still all
Taped up.
Yeah.
Ну что там?
Still quite a view from the North Col.
В добрый
it's good.
путь?
Будем надеяться, что
Primarily see the whole route from there.
Yeah.
Демонстративно почесать яйцо хочешь или что?
Now at this point, no show. Is that someone
Серу.
going to the bathroom up
Жизнь идет
there?
своим чередом.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That was someone pooping, by the way. But so at this point in the trip, how long had it taken you to get up to the North Col from ABC?
I think the last time I went was 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Compare how long did it take you the first time?
Just over 6 hours.
Okay, so you were twice as fast, so you really
Yeah, it was
you were
acclimatized,
acclimatized pretty well. You can hear that wind now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the one constant above there. If you were going to climb Everest in 2003, I don't know what it's like year to year, but it just seemed like if you were going to climb it, you were going to have to be well assured of cold and wind all the time.
I might be replaying this footage. This might be old footage here, but I'm just trying to piece together the experience here. So I apologize to anyone. But these are our
British guys.
British friends.
These guys were cool. That guy right there, what's his name?
Well, that's Dave in the red, and that's
That's what I thought it was.
Richard
Dave.
in Richard Cantrell.
What was Dave's last name? Do you remember?
Now that you put me on the spot, I can't remember.
I couldn't either.
Dave Pierce.
Pierce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him. He was a good guy.
So where's the route, Ben?
Goes straight
Where
up.
are the fixed ropes?
Goes straight up, pretty much.
It's pretty.
And there's some rocks
Yeah.
where it disappears. You have to think a little bit.
It's always amazing to me, though, how you can see this line of ants going up the mountain. And Everest is, like you've said it before, it's not a wilderness experience.
No, it's not. It's not. I don't consider this. I mean, this is like, this is expedition mountaineering, is what I would call this. I wouldn't call it climbing. I mean, it's a strain of climbing, but it's not. It's not like what I would do today. It's a good lesson. It's a way to learn about how to actually go about climbing a mountain. I mean, the Mallory who established this route, George Mallory, that was doing this in the 20s, picked a good line. I mean, it's a very objectively cautious line, I believe. I mean, today I think if people hadn't climbed Everest yet, they probably would be doing that narrow gully of snow, that chute on the right side of this whole video footage here on the frame. I think that's more direct. Today's style is more fast, light, avoidance of objective hazards, and people would think that the directness of that line might be safer because it's consistent. You'd probably establish 2 camps or 3 camps instead of 4 or 5, but this was, despite it being such an old, the thing's nearing 80 years old in its establishment or more, it's still a very good route. It's classic. Because you're not getting hit by rocks, you're just getting buffeted by wind, whereas on the right side of your screen you'd probably be a little more protected from the wind, but you might have exposed danger to rockfall, so you have to be able to move fast.
What's that person doing?
He's just trying to get blood back to his fingers because it's cold. I mean, there were days
because of the wind?
Yeah, there were days where, this is one of the coldest days I had. I was asphyxiating myself with a frozen oxygen mask at this point, basically killing myself and didn't know it. And I was really cold. I mean, it's as if you could feel the cold seeping through your down jacket.
So when your oxygen mask isn't working, you should just take it off, because otherwise you're rebreathing your own own breath. Like these guys were climbing without oxygen, and you probably have, if your oxygen isn't working, it's probably best just to remove your mask, right?
And just not use it,
because then you get better.
You get oxygen instead of not getting it. Instead of getting a mix of carbon dioxide and oxygen, you just get oxygen.
He's got his jacket open. Was it at times, if the wind doesn't sound too windy here?
No, at times it was okay.
But did it get really hot?
Not really. Not for me personally.
That's Andre.
Yeah. Once you approach those rocks, once you got around the corner and into them because you had to climb up the rocks, that was where it just was brutally windy.
This is Oleg here.
They're about 25,000 feet.
So he's coming up to a tent, so that means is that the first camp above the North Col?
Yeah.
Как погодка?
It's funny, people get asked questions and it takes a second for them to respond. So there's Chongse. Distance there. And there's what's happening the next day.
Yeah, the wind.
All right. Well, next episode we'll get a little bit more into it and, see some more frustration and more of that with communications and everything. And just, we're really getting into it now, people. So I hope you continue to stay tuned for all of this. And also I want to mention that Ben took about 1,400 photographs on this 2007 trip. So
yeah, we'll try and condense it down to around 100, and we'll have if you've never seen other parts of Nepal, there's Everest, and there's people who've been viewing the show and maybe watch the China podcast and whatnot might presently know is that after Everest it was pretty much the formalization of a philosophy that I just wanted to go start exploring, and I've been living my dreams for a long time, and now my dreams have shaped into either sharing climbing with other people with in a commercial aspect and in this way of films or guiding and whatnot, or when I'm looking for what I've learned is that it's also really fun to go places where no one's ever gone and to establish and do new climbs no one's ever done, to summit mountains no one's ever climbed, or to take skis. I mean, basically my goal has been to learn every way possible to have fun in the mountains. And so, as we develop and continue to hone that, my partners and myself, we're going to always have unique and interesting slideshows to give out and podcasts to put together.
So he'll be putting those together, but we're not going to put a time frame on it. Ben's a very busy guy, and he's got to do that in his spare time. So we won't
go back and work a lot.
He's got to go back to work.
I've been off for a long time.
So we won't say when those are going to come out, but they'll be similar to the China podcast, the China bonus episodes. They will be bonus. They will not replace the weekly episodes of The Rest of Everest. So we'll look forward to that. And also I want to just mention real quick that while Ben was gone, his email got completely erased. Yeah. So if anyone had contacted him for any reason or was trying to get some photographs to purchase from some of his work, please email him again or email me and I'll pass it on. So.
Yeah, shoot it on. Shoot it on, we'll take care of it.
Because remember, buying those photographs is one way to help fund these future expeditions and everything. So,
or you could just donate $500,000 and we'll finish it off.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. So, well, thanks for joining on this episode, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, John. It's great to be back. I'm glad that, of all people, to be cruising through here and hanging out with you after such a long trip and rehashing some of the fun we had on this one.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So we will catch you next week.
See ya.
The Rest of Everest is downloaded all over the world every week. If you enjoy watching and would like to show your support, then take a look at my website. Aside from having lots of additional blog entries from the expedition updated every week, there's this little donation button on every page. Now, many of you have pressed that button, and your generous contributions are helping to cover my hosting fees. If you haven't donated but would like to, then just contribute any amount. In return, I'll give you access to the video and audio dispatches I sent out while we were actually at Everest. It's pretty interesting stuff. Contribute $25 or more, and I'll even throw in an iPod-compatible version of the film Everest: The Other Side. That's the project the entire podcast here is based on. As always, our announcer is Marlon May, and our music is provided by Wendy Wu. Check her out at wendywu.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching The Rest of Everest. For more information on the expedition, please visit therestofeverest.com.